we did a great video on Bob Lazar. We did a great video on time travel and how that might be possible, how that might work. Basically, a lot of the messages I was getting were saying that it's not physically possible for aliens to be visiting us here on Earth. Physics and science doesn't allow it. And I should go away and do some more research. So I did.
Good for you.
Yeah, well, that was good. I don't understand most of it, so I immediately thought Storm will understand this stuff. I feel like maybe be able to explain it to me. But I do know that it means aliens could physically be visiting us on Earth. It is physically possible.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you know, it is within our realm of understood science.
Yeah.
In terms of like our technology, you know, we certainly can't. At least from a public point of view, we can't, you know, create whatever these ships would be. I mean, we could certainly create a ship today with today's technology. It could be a SpaceX project. They probably have it done by the end of the year. That, you know, you build a generational ship and you just, you know, using an ion drive or something, which we've already mastered using like xenon. To just strip off the electron, just send out the particles.
Satellites are already powered with
ion
engines.
You could, you know, the crew and the passengers of this new SpaceX ship, it could be on the other side of the Milky Way within just a generation or two, as long as they're continuing to accelerate. So we can certainly build a ship today to go to the other side of the Milky Way.
Yeah, with enough resources.
With enough resources.
It would have to be enormous.
100,000 light years across, and I think 100 light years tall, maybe.
Oh, there you go then. Well, and a light year is about 5.8 trillion miles, a little bit more. So, I mean, we're talking massive distances. The nearest star to us, Proxima Centauri, is 4.3 light years. So that's 30 trillion miles. Ridiculously silly distances, and I think that's the point. But like you said, with technology, that makes me think about the Fermi paradox there as well.
The Fermi paradox.
Yeah. Well, Enrico Fermi basically said many stars are billions of years older than ours. If there's civilizations everywhere, like we think there are, I like the Star Trek universe way of looking at it. That we're everywhere. You know, then considering how many stars there are, how many planets around those stars. Fermi didn't even know how many planets are around stars. We now know almost all stars have planetary systems like ours.
New research out this week shows that there's also a lot of planets, you know, rogues that's just floating around in the galaxy that's unattached to any star system. They're just.
I saw that. Yeah. But I mean, I don't imagine life would be able to survive on those. But we are seeing planets in the Goldilocks zones around most stars, which only kind of makes sense to me. And I was saying this before because well, why wouldn't stars form planetary systems kind of similarly? You know, the physics is the same, isn't it? Regardless of what's going on. So it doesn't surprise me at all that most stars, stars like ours anyway, would have planetary systems roughly similar. You know, with rocky inner planets, large gaseous planets, and then outer planets. So it kind of makes sense to me. And everywhere that we look on Earth, anyway, that there's water and heat, we find life.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me at all if life fills the universe. 99% of it's probably microbial, though. I do think the first time we see ET, we're going to be stepping in it. Oh, it's all slimy. Don't like it. It's sticky. And that'll be our first alien contact.
Right.
Smells funny.
Smells funny.
Yeah. But you know, but the universe is massive, and I completely appreciate it.
I'm sorry, I had a disruptive thought. You know, that would be the next Axe body spray, you know, fragrance. I'm an alien. Put it in your pits. All right, I apologize. Please go ahead.
Smell like Saturn. But yeah. Like I said, I actually genuinely think there'll be life in our solar system. It won't surprise me at all, but it'll be slime. You know?
Well, NASA has projects on the drawing board, plan to go visit some of these, like Enceladus.
Mm-hmm.
It's a moon out in the solar system that's just nothing but a frozen ocean with a water ice, with just liquid water underneath a shell of water ice.
Yep.
And they're designing a submarine that can, land, drill down, and then deploy underneath the ice to search for life. I mean, you've got water, and from just the radio astronomy and the other sensors data that we have from Enceladus, everything you need.
And I think there's quite a lot of heat as well, because the gravity of the low planet is constantly squeezing and contracting, which generates warmth, because it's quite far from the sun.
Tremendous tidal force.
Well, we're not alone in the universe, so
yeah. And going back to yet another bunch of hate mail we've gotten in the past is talking about the disclosures coming out of the Department of the Navy Office of Intelligence for the Navy. They said, "Well, dudes, we got ships not of this earth."
Yeah.
Well,
I didn't seem to forget about that.
Yeah, and never nary a word has ever been said in the New York Times letter.
No,
it's this ship not of this earth, and no one talks about, well, that kind of solves a lot of questions. There's life on other planets. There's intelligent life on other planets. There's people. These ships can get here from other planets, so somehow they're cheating, E equals MC squared. Somehow.
Well, I mean, Bill Nelson, literally head of NASA, came out today, or it might be yesterday actually, in a report and said, we will probably find life on other planets at some point. The numbers of how many stars there are in this galaxy and how many galaxies there are in our universe, the numbers get ridiculous. It's trillions upon trillions upon trillions of stars and planets around most of those stars. This is where we go back to the Fermi paradox. So that the Fermi said, well, if all those planets have civilizations, and we look at the what's the other he did the math to figure out how many solar systems would.
The Drake equation.
The Drake equation. Thank you. So they were actually debating the Drake equation, and Fermi said, well, if that's true, then where are the aliens? Because they should be here by now. It would, even with our technology today, we could send probes, and have done, you could argue. We've sent Voyager. Voyager is the furthest distant planet out. It's well outside our solar system now, screaming towards the Orca cloud. That could get to another star in a couple of hundred years. Given a million years, we could, in theory, with our current technology, send a probe to most of the stars in the Milky Way. So why wouldn't another alien species have done that? And if they have, where are they? Yeah.
And one of the things about the Drake equation, one of the variables is L. Excuse me. And L is how many of these civilizations is our time scale relative to theirs, where they're actually broadcasting through the electromagnetic spectrum.
Yeah.
Detectable. Right. And I feel we're kind of on the downtrend of that, because, right now, let me get you, for example, this is my cell phone, right? It barely gets across town, yet most of us have these. Most of us have these cell phones, and mine has a very limited range. I mean, it's an Apple, it's all this new, but cell phones are not built to transmit up. They're built to transmit out, because any upward radiated energy is wasted.
Wasteful, yeah.
But that's how we mostly communicate these days. I mean, with video and audio and text and pics and just everything. So, but back in the day when we had powerful AM transmitters that were omnidirectional, we'd put out waves everywhere.
Yeah, we were a massive beacon for about 50 years.
Yeah, and so I think our L, where we have electromagnetic exposure to the universe, I think those days are counting down. I think we're on the backslide of that. And so at some point, we're going to have a very low electromagnetic footprint.
Yeah.
We may be, and our L will be negligible compared to everybody else. And so if you're not there in that 80, 100-year gap, just right, you'll miss us completely.
Yeah, most
So
definitely.
maybe that also feeds into the Fermi paradox. So why don't we find any evidence? Well, we may not.
The window
may
might be
have
very
a
small.
flash in the pan, right?
And it also the window of us actually listening for it might be quite small. But also, we have no idea what communication technology another species might take. But like I said, the more we digitize, 5G is going to be even more quiet because we're focusing on that. That's the whole point of a lot of this energy is less power,
Right.
more signal.
Right.
So you focus the data, you focus the stream as much as possible. So digital it doesn't, like you said, doesn't transmit wildly out into space like we once did.
Yeah.
And but another species could use a technology we've never thought of. We don't know. I doubt it when it comes to radio. I think most species will go through a phase of that because it is like a fundamental force, and it's fundamental. It's almost like obvious to use it as communication technique. But another species could use something that we've never thought of.
Yeah.
And that we don't know to look for. I watched something not long ago. They were saying about how looking for what we should do is look for spaceships traveling, because if they're traveling at close to the speed of light, and we could talk about wormholes and warp drives in a minute, they would expend quite a large amount of energy.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we should be looking for that energy burst. And we've seen a few things that initially they thought might be sort of evidence of that, like these very high frequency signals that hit us a few times, and we've seen a few odd things in space.
Radio bursts.
Yeah, those radio bursts. Yeah, they were thinking, oh, maybe that is a communication system, or that, and then it is probably something quite natural.
Magnetar.
Yeah. But maybe we should be looking for those sorts of signals. Maybe we need to be looking for the side effects of their technology. The problem is we don't know what that technology is.
Yeah.
So we don't know what to look for.
And it could be something that's more on the quantum level. We were talking, or I think in a previous stream about, entangled radio and how would that even work? Certainly somebody that can actually get here from another world has solved a lot of technical problems that we're still struggling with, and these solutions may be really, really easy. They may be within our grasp in, 20 years, maybe, we're still doing research at CERN. We're still doing research all over the planet, concerned with all sorts of material science and technology and AI and quantum computing. Who knows what we'll stumble upon in the next 20 years? I mean, it only took us 66 years to go from Kitty Hawk and the Wright brothers to landing on the moon in the Sea of Tranquility.
Exactly, yeah.
66 years.
That was one of the arguments I made with that chap, in fact. From 100 years, we were feeling like that, from the Wright brothers to roughly where we are now, a century, just over a century. What could we be doing in another century? What could we be doing in another 1,000 years if we're still here and we haven't burned our planet to a crisp? Where could we be in 1,000 years? We'll all certainly be living on Mars. We'll probably be living on the moon in large numbers. We'll be mining the asteroid belts because we'll have burned up all our resources on the Earth. We'll probably be children of the solar system, possibly even within 100 years. Actually, to be fair, if we're not within 100 years, we're in trouble.
That's true.
We're not going to have the resources on the Earth anymore.
That's true. We're not we're focusing on quarterly profits and not humanity, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, at the moment, we are most definitely.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you think about our reliance on battery power that's going to be in the next century, if we don't find another source of lithium or a different way of building batteries, we're in serious trouble, because that we only have about 100 years worth of supply at our current demand.
The saving grace of that is lithium is the third most abundant element in the universe.
Yeah, but it's not that abundant on Earth.
It exists all through the solar system. Now, us getting to it here on Earth, you have to go through a lot of crust to get a little bit of lithium. That's the issue. Yeah. But in terms of condensed lithium, thankfully for us, it's elsewhere in the solar system.
Yeah.
And so I think that's another impetus to get to Mars, to get to the moon, to get to
We've got to
the
go get it.
belt. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, there's just that one asteroid. It's worth 4 trillion quintillion something dollars, and it's
Yeah,
called
I've seen that.
I-16, and it's got more precious metal in it than all of Earth does in the
Yeah.
crust. And
Is
so
it
the
crazy
reason
how that
there
happens,
is,
though? Why does that happen? That you get such large deposits? I mean, 'cause I understand how these precious metals are formed. You know, because wherever you get pressure and heat, you get new material sort of thing. So the sun kicks out iron and water and hydrogen at quite large amounts as it just compresses the atoms, hydrogen atoms together, and nitrogen, I think, as well. And you get more stuff. And then you get a supernova, you get loads of pressure, loads of heat, and then you get like that when it makes gold and uranium and all these other heavier metals. It always surprises me that, and then obviously it explodes and throws it all out, and you get the. It always amazes me though when you get such then large concentrations of things when it starts to form again. I mean, how did that asteroid form with such large concentrations? It just blows my mind.
most asteroids are metal. You know,
Yeah.
and I said, if you notice, I said, in the Earth's crust more than the Earth's crust, because Earth is so old. Most of our heavy metals are now in the Earth's core. That's molten hot. We can't get to them. And some scientists have theorized that specifically about Psyche 16 is that it used to be a planetary core that the solar system has captured, or a failed body or something. But there's several of those in the asteroid belt. Psyche 16, I think, is just the largest we've mapped.
That's fast. That would make sense. And then it's stripped off the rest and we just left the core behind.
Right.
That makes total sense, doesn't it?
I mean, right. Our crust is kind of fragile. I mean, we have rebuilt the Earth's crust has been rebuilt several times.
Yeah.
Like an asteroid strike, almost all of a sudden the entire surface is just molten rock.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to,
You see a topographical map of the Earth with the oceans taken away, and you can see that there's a very large impact at some point. Honestly, it looks like an apple with a bite taken out of it.
Right, yeah.
Huge indentation where I think, and we're on Earth 2 anyway, I reckon, that has how the moon was formed by a very large impact. The molten ice, basically almost destroyed the Earth, and then it recoalesced, and the moon was formed.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, Earth get the shit beat out of it.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
It's got the scars. That's one of the things about how I worry about how much intelligent life there might be actually in the universe, because the moon is. I think life is everywhere, but I think intelligent life or large animals might be a bit different, because I think the moon is so important to stabilizing our seasons, stabilizing the planet, causing our tidal forces, which I think it was vital for life forming and stabilizing. I do wonder how common that might be in the wider universe. There's enough possibilities it's going to happen.
Yeah,
it won't be unique, but actually intelligent life might be quite rare.
Could be. Well, I mean, it's rare here. No, but I see what I see what you're saying.
You see how I didn't make an American joke then?
You should have, man.
I bit my lip.
Don't next time.
I was going to say you'd know being an American, but you didn't.
Oh yes,
I didn't. I'm proud of myself.
Oh well. If you look at Earth as like our baseline, that's the only thing we know for sure is Earth. If you look at that, life can take on all sorts of different forms. If you look at our fossil record, I mean, there's some shit in our fossil record. So what the hell is that? Trilobites, crazy looking little animals, had everything going for it. Survived multiple extinction level events, and yet evolution just played them right out. They vanished. And look at dinosaurs or things that came before dinosaurs. All the strange things in the ocean still, and all the strange things you see deep in the ocean, like the Mariana Trench.
The properly deep stuff is strange.
Right. And so if you look at all the different life forms on Earth, especially the not just single cellular life, but just the large complex life. You know, a Portuguese man of war, which is really several little organisms that's different. That's just they're all kind of symbiotes.
Yeah.
If you look at life on Earth, we've had some crazy stuff. It's just not all mammals. It's not all avians, you know, and so it could be, well, you know, we saw this one thing. It looked like a loblolly pine tree, but it had tentacles. And it was steering a spaceship. So I think if we ever do find something, it'll look a little bit like that, something on Earth. It'll look a little bit something like that, and something from the fossil record mixed in with something that grows in a swamp, and that's your alien. Because we've gone through so many cycles of of evolution and disaster, evolution and extinction, that there could be something in our fossil record that looks an awful lot like something else that we find out in the universe.
I would think so, because I mean, there's certain, or there seem on Earth at least, there seems to be certain evolutionary solutions to problems, like the eye is a good example. That's an evolutionary problem to a solution to a problem. But then I think about some of the things that have evolved. You said like that. It's a mushroom, and when it spores, it releases its spores, and the spores land on the back of an ant's head. The spore bores its way into the ant's head, and it connects itself to the ant's brain.
Right.
It basically then takes the ant over. The ant becomes like a zombie. I think they should call it the zombie ant.
It should be.
It'll climb the nearest tree and get as high as it can, and then it sits out on the end of the branch, and then it just sits there until it dies, because the mushroom starts growing, or the spore starts growing. It then explodes through the ant's head, grows, it feeds basically off the ant, and then spores again and starts the whole process again. How the hell did that evolve?
Right. It's a couple months ago, I went on this rampage just watching all these mushroom and fungi documentaries, and it's like, what the hell? Oh my God, I can never go outside again.
What the hell is wrong with this thing?
Right.
Who created that?
And the whole exploding ant head spore thing, it's just, how does that start? You know? Jeez.
If the creationists have got it right, and God did create everything, what the hell was he doing that day? That was like at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm so bored. I'm going to do something crazy, and or he was drunk one night and thought, and then got up the next morning like, what did I do? What was I thinking with that thing?
Guess I was thinking about exploding ant heads.
Yeah, exactly. That's a bad day.
Right.
But it's like, I think you are. I think you're right. I think I do think we'll recognise when we do finally meet ET. I think we will recognise it as life.
Right.
But we could just as easily, to be honest, not. It could just as easily be energy or silicon based, or something else that we don't recognise as life. Just because we're carbon based. Doesn't mean other life will be. There's another said that it could be arsenic based.
Yeah, anything in the carbon column, carbon or silicon or anything in that column in the periodic table is a probable candidate for a baseline for life. Carbon being the most common, not just here on Earth, or not just because it's on top of the periodic table in that column, but because there's carbon damn near everywhere in the universe.
Yeah.
It's so plentiful.
Yeah, we really need to figure out. Well, that's why hopefully if we create a graphene battery, will be so useful, because it's based on one of the most plentiful things in the universe. We really won't have a problem. It's a bit sticky; it sticks to everything. But if we can figure out how to use it, but to go back to the Fermi paradox, I mean, what do you think of that? Because I mean, I could argue that Fermi said, well, we haven't seen these things, so aliens can't be out there. I say, are we though? Is this what the Tic Tac was? Is this what Roswell was? Is this, you know?
We have, yeah, I mean, we have an overwhelming amount of eyewitness testimony from movement and other organizations. Eyewitness testimony that was a lot of it is kind of parallel in terms of experiences, even before Mylar balloons were ever invented. And we have whistleblowers like Lazar, whistleblowers that appeared in Stephen Greer's Disclosure Project, legit guys, you know, admirals and generals and, you know, CEOs of military, you know, supply companies, the military industrial complex that's said, we got this stuff. And then, you know, now we have government sources at the Office of Naval Intelligence saying, yeah, we are in possession of ships not of this earth. Exactly how much more? I mean, so I think that's the answer to Fermi's paradox, is no one bothered to talk to Fermi.
Yeah.
You know, Enrico Fermi was clearly in the dark about all these things. And God knows how many other astronomers have been lied to or forced to toe the party line. You know, and I get guys like Carl Sagan, whereas, you know, I think Carl Sagan was probably the most famous astronomer that was actually friends to the UFO community. Because he says, look, I mean, this stuff is all possible. We just don't have the science. We don't know.
Yeah.
But, and this was his disclaimer, says, but extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And he's right. And you know, he's absolutely right. There has to be physical evidence. You know, there has to be some way to backtrack the math out of whatever we're seeing. You know, and if we take, you know, Bob Lazar's, you know, sports model as one of those legit whistleblowers, and as time goes on, the more legit he seems, maybe Fermi, no one told Fermi. I mean, that's entirely possible. The Fermi paradox maybe just, you know.
Well, he's talking about that we need extraordinary evidence. I would say that we need any evidence that is irrefutable. At the end of the day, if you get a piece of metal that big that we can't identify, that's going to be pretty good evidence. Particularly if it was in a shape of something, you know, that was like, that looks like a bit of a spaceship. Now that would be useful. But, you know, it's like, we just need some evidence that can't be argued with, sort of thing. But the problem is that evidence would immediately go to the police. It would immediately, you know, if something happened like that, you'd phone the police. If the government would turn up and they would take it. This is why, you know, like Roswell, there was potentially loads of evidence, but it was swept up really quickly. If there was but I do wonder though, if there was a Roswell today, would that happen? And I would say no. The chances are, this is a double-edged sword though. Everyone's got a mobile phone in their pocket now, and there would be video evidence. The double edge is though that unfortunately we get now loads and loads of video evidence of UFOs, but it's almost all fake.
Yeah,
I go on there today, Facebook every single day, notification, new video. I saw 3 today. They're all clearly fake. So, but I do wonder whether that might be on purpose. I know aliens are popular at the moment. People are talking about them, and people want to get YouTube hits, so they create a little video and they put it out there, and it gets 1 million hits, and they're like, "Ooh, aren't I clever?" But I also wonder if the government is thinking, you know what, people are actually talking about aliens a little bit too much. We need to stop this. And even I'm a believer in the alien. I believe ET could be visiting the Earth. I know the universe has got life in it. I believe that life could be visiting Earth. But sometimes I'm looking at all these crap fake videos, and I'm starting thinking, maybe they're not. Maybe this is all just rubbish. But then I think, no, because that's what they want me to think.
Well, yeah, you know, and, you know, humans, you know, we don't help. I mean, there's the flat earthers, there's the chemtrail hookers, you know, now there's the bird drone people. and they're throwing up so much shit, that's getting clicks. All that crap is clickbait. And so if somebody had like a legit video, we'd skip right over it because it's not clickbait.
Yeah.
I mean, the stupid stuff rises to the top, unfortunately, in social media.
Yeah.
Let me tell you a story about when I first realized that life has to be everywhere in the universe. I was about 12 or 13. And my granddad gave me the job of getting rid of the crabgrass in between the bricks in the driveway. So I'd go and pull it up, and then it'd grow back. And so then I would go burn it out and it would grow back. And then I would start using pesticides and it'd grow back. And then I started using, sulfuric acid. It would grow back. That driveway, somewhere in an undisclosed location in West Virginia, there's a driveway that needs to be a Superfund cleanup site. I swear to God. I use coal mining, chemicals, and I bombarded that damn driveway. With gasoline, set the shit on fire. Everything I could, and the damn weeds came back. And I'm thinking, God, I'm wanting to get rid of these weeds. Maybe it's, once life takes a toehold on some sort of, planetary body, you're screwed, man. Yeah.
Well, you look at the streamophiles, though, don't they? The little buggers, well, some of them aren't that little, that can survive anything, radiation, impact. Somebody found spores of one type of extremophile, and they think the spores were something like 5 million years old, so millions of years old anyway, and they said they were still viable.
Yeah.
They could still hatch. Which is, I think, possible. Is it transpermia? They think there might be a way of life,
right?
Growing among these.
Yeah.
A comet or something hits the Earth, material is thrown up. We've got meteorites from Mars and the Moon on Earth that this has exactly happened. Something large hits, it throws material up into space. That material floats around, and some of it then finds another gravity well and is pulled in and lands. If extremophiles are on any of those rocks, they could survive.
Yeah, they could.
Give it millions of years and billions of years. That's possibly how life
spreads
already have the galaxy.
We have one species, tardigrades, that can withstand anything. They survived several extinction level events here on Earth. We know for a fact they can live in the hard vacuum of space, exposed to, at the International Space Station, just absolutely fine.
Yep,
we can freeze them, we can burn them, we can expose them to radiation, and tardigrades just, hey, still here. Yeah.
They live a really long time as well, some of them. It's just crazy. So, now I'm with you. I think as soon as life was created in the galaxy, I think it would have spread. And I think it's really, really hard to get rid of. But to go back to my point earlier, though, that intelligent life, though, is more fragile.
Yes.
And that was one of the comments I got, was that how arrogant do we think we are as a human species that we think aliens would bother coming to visit us? And why do we think we're so special? And we might be special because intelligent life is rare. We might not be, but to be fair, large animals might be rare. As a whole, they might not actually care about us. They might not consider us intelligent.
Yeah.
They might actually consider us really stupid. So who is this idiot ape thing that keeps concreting over all nature?
Right.
Has it not got any sense? They might be just as interested in the lions and the ants as they are us.
Or the octopi, or the cephalopod, or not or maybe the cephalopods, or the cetaceans. There was an evolutionary, I think it was a biophysicist, maybe, and I don't remember the name of the paper or the guy, but his contention was, if you look at, he believes life is everywhere in higher concentrations than most people, even in the SETI community, believe, because the way carbon bonds with everything, if it didn't create life, it would violate the laws of thermodynamics. And he had a very good spiel. I'll try to find that article and post it in the show notes later.
Yeah.
And he had a very good rationalization of why Well, the only way to prevent this happening is to break the laws of thermodynamics, because carbon is the slut of the periodic table. It will bond with damn near
Yeah, it's really sticky. Yeah.
Right. And I'm trying not to laugh at sticky, but yeah, the sticky slut of the periodic table is definitely carbon. But he was saying, if you have it where it can't bond with anything, then we have to totally rewrite the laws of thermodynamics. And he had a really good point. Like, shit, that's true. And and maybe aliens, going back to your point about intelligence, maybe aliens are coming to Earth to talk to intelligent species. We're not the only ones that's intelligent on this Earth. Yeah. Octopi can do all sort. I mean, they're just as smart. They have emotions. They form relationships. Dolphins have emotions, form relationships. They don't have. I mean, they have a limited use of tools because they don't have opposing thumbs. They just have flippers, but they do use tools. They will pick up rocks and shatter clams and other arthropods to get at the meat inside. They will chew on a puffer fish just to get high. Literally, they will. And large whales, they have complex communication systems. They're definitely intelligent. They form social structures. And so we're just the only ones that can make tools very well. And it's been observed that one group of monkeys will use a special or special shape of a twig to fish out ants from an anthill. And that'll be observed by another monkey, and it will take it to its group and use the same thing, and that technology spreads. So even on Earth, we have lots of things that can make tools. Some are rudimentary, some are really complex. But all sorts of species communicate, have social structures. So maybe they could be coming for us. They could be coming for bottlenose dolphins.
I just think one theory was that, actually, just to remind you, that was the plot for when Star Trek used to be good. That was the plot, wasn't it? That Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home.
Yeah.
That probe thing come here and was destroying our oceans and destroying life. And they're sort of like, we can't talk to them, Because how arrogant are we to think they're trying to talk to us?
Yeah.
They're trying to talk to the dolphins. They don't know where the dolphins have gone. So we have to go back in time and get some dolphins. But that's a really good point, though, isn't it? That we're so arrogant that we think we're the reason why they would come.
Right.
But at the same time, there is an argument that maybe they're coming here, and actually, if aliens do turn up here, and complex life, is as rare as we think, they might look at us and go, you know what? Yeah, you need to go, because we're destroying this planet.
We are
very effectively. They might consider us like a cancer, and in which case we are in trouble because we will get invaded. And potentially wiped out. So
and they don't even have to come in to wipe us out. Tomorrow is going to be 115 here Fahrenheit outside, and that'll make day 18, I think, if temperatures above 100. And our forecast for the next 10 days is temperatures above 100. Where we get our water from is the snowpack from the Sierras, like the Yosemite National Park is in the Sierras. And there's no snowpack this year. We are truly fucked here in California. And 25% of the food for the United States comes from the valley I live in, which is rapidly running out of water this year. We are just absolutely hosed. And the heat is not making the water situation any easier. So yeah, we don't have to have aliens coming from some other planet to do us in. We're doing a fine job on ourselves.
I think they'll want to wipe us out though before we do any more damage. That'd be my point. Like, you need to stop fucking the planet up. You need to go.
Yeah.
But we need to start. I tell you what, it's going to be in the next 10 years, and Britain is going to be the dominant superpower of the planet, because it hasn't stopped raining here for the last 3 weeks. It's our summer.
Really?
So we'll just tap one of our rivers, put it all on cargo ships, and we'll sell it to you. So here you go. Here's some water. That's £1 billion, please. And you know what I'm saying, you can have some of our water, but you have to give us all of your money. Something. So
Sure.
we're going to be the Middle East.
Yeah.
The Middle East of the next decade. Yeah, it's going to be awesome.